Welcome everybody to Haste netblock. Though it's in English, it's quite difficult to translate, I think. But as you might know, Berlin has a rather long history in the unauthorized reuse of unused housing space. So tonight, Nibbler is going to tell us about its digital analogy, unused IP addresses owned by government or organizations or big companies. And I think we'll hear a lot about practical and creative reuse of these address spaces. Yes, please welcome Nibbler.
First of all, for all of you who are eager to see a technically sophisticated talk, this will be utterly boring because it's mainly about bureaucracy. It's about the bureaucracy you encounter when you're handling resources on the internet. It's still an interesting subject though, because only few people look at it because they take it as granted. So to make things clear, we're going to talk about the allocation of internet resources, which is mainly IP addresses and AS numbers. So IP addresses, I guess everybody of you is familiar with that. AS numbers, maybe something less of you have heard of or handled with. It's on the internet, systems connect. It's network systems that are autonomous. They are called AS, and they get a number assigned, and they can have traffic relations, so either they exchange traffic mutually or just in one way. So it's one of the basic resources you need on the internet to act with other players. You need one of these numbers. So how do these get distributed? And if we go back far to the early times of the internet, they were mainly, just assigned and scribbled down on paper, and nobody really had the full insight into it once it grew larger and larger and constantly more problematic to take care of, because the more the internet grows, the more people you need to handle these resources, and you have to define a system how to do so. And of course, such a system also has to represent. Sorry? Bisschen lauter? Okay. Okay. And you had also to design policies how to hand out these resources, because they are scarce. So the people have founded regional internet registries. So for every part of the planet, there is a regional internet registry handing out these resources. These resources get handed from the IANA, the International Organization for doing just this, distributing numbers, to the RERs, gives them large chunks of IP space, of AS number ranges, and they hand it out to people on the internet. So they are non-profit organizations, they are funded by membership fees, and they have to implement policies. This is an important point. They do not make up policies. They do not say, okay, we are in the opinion that these people should get AS numbers and these don't. It's a community-driven process. So, for example, in the RIBE region, policies are consensus-based. They have an elaborate system of discussion, and it's luckily more fruitful than, for example, Wikipedia. So they actually reach a consensus on something, and it mainly is representing the opinion of the people in the certain area of that regional internet registry. From a technical point of view, of course, they hand out the resources, and they provide additional services which are not the core purpose of, but are quite nice to have. As I said, it's about bureaucracy. The RIBE NCC, who is handing out the resources to the members in the RIBE region, who, again, make the policies, is a bureaucratic entity. It's not a policymaker. They just adhere to what the people told them. And they do have three major goals, which are important for the allocation of resources. It's aggregation, conservation, and registration. These are also the things you will receive as guidelines if you are a member of that regional internet registry and have to hand out resources yourselves. They also have, they do trainings. They put out test traffic measurement boxes to map internet latency, have the routing information service. I will come back on that later. And they operate several instances of DNS root servers. One of their services is the routing information service, where you can enter a resource like an AS number or a network, and you get these nice charts where you see this is for the Congress AS. You see the distribution of upstreams. So, yeah, I guess it's pretty self-explaining. One of the problems, however, they have to handle is the growth of the routing table. That's why one of the goals is aggregation. So, dazu oder? Okay. Was better. Was aggregation. Maybe I just repeat the important things. The regional internet registries who hand out through their members or directly internet resources to people on the internet have mainly, for Europe, it's these two goals: aggregation, conservation, and registration. Aggregation means that they have to take care that they hand out as many IP addresses as needed to cater for 2 years currently. And for the future, so people do not re-request resources every time they need a new netblock, so they can announce a larger netblock which they will use up after 2 years instead of requesting monthly netblocks. So, yeah. They do have the routing information service where you can ask, okay, who is currently using this resource? They tell you by logging the BGP table and the updates. They can tell you, okay, this AS number is advertising this prefix, thus this entity is using this IP range. Of course, the third goal is the conservation, so they have to take care that as many internet resources as possible remain still freely available, because once they are gone, they're gone. What will be interesting for us later on is the whois service. The whois service was introduced to make it easier to find out which IP and which resource belongs to whom. It's a database operated by the RERs. For domains, it's the network information centers of the respective countries or the entities that are maintaining the GTLD. But that's not of interest for us. The RIR databases are the places where you find which IP address belongs to whom, which AS number belongs to whom, and therefore they use a database system that can have several objects. One is the inetnum object, for example, which is for IP addresses. I will come to that later. The important thing is, well, the stuff we will talk about is in these whois databases. For example, a prison object looks like this. You just have these fields. Some of them are searchable keys. The primary key in that case is the NIC HDL line. It's HORN-RIPE. That's the unique identifier for that object. And yeah, basically that's a record that points to a person in real life that has an address. For the autonomous systems, you have the autonom object. The autonom object is more sophisticated, as it's designed to represent a routing policy. So that's the place where I say, I am the AS250 and I do peer with these people and receive prefixes from them. They are advertising, and I receive, in the case of, for example, in Berlin, I accept any. And yeah. That's the policy. You point into the direction where you are receiving upstream from, because you do want to receive all the prefixes from them. For peerings, you just exchange your own routes. You can also